what's up, guys? I want to welcome you to this deep stretch class today. My name is Amber, and I am going to take you through a beautiful stretch routine that will mainly focus on opening up our hips. Many of us sit for hours a day, and that in turn results in really tight hips. Unless you take the time to stretch your hips, you're going to just continue to feel tightness and become more inflexible. Come along with me and I'll show you the way. For today's practice, if you have some props, grab them. Blocks are great. If you don't have blocks, books can do just as well as a substitute. Grab a bench, a small footstool, towel, blanket, whatever you have. It really doesn't matter. When we come into our deep stretch practice, it's really good to work on shutting down our nervous system. And we can do that through breathing. We'll take 5 breaths today. I'm going to have you inhale through your nose for the count of 4 and exhale through your mouth for the count of 8. That, again, we're going to do 5 rounds of it. So inhale, exhale. We're in a fight or flight state for many, sometimes hours in our day or minutes in our day. Focus on turning that fight or flight system off. And we can do it through this breathing practice. Good. And once you have done your deep breathing, bring your hands to heart center if you so choose. And I want to bless this practice. May this practice heal and strengthen your body and mind. For the first stretch, I'm going to use my blanket, or if you have a towel, whatever you have, grab it. We're going to use it to rest our knee on. The first pose is called blaster pose. From all fours, hands are directly below your shoulders, feet are directly below your hips. Curl your toes, straighten your knees, coming into a downward facing dog. From here, extend your right foot to the top of your mat. It can be either directly below your knee, or maybe you just punch it a little bit further ahead. From here, lowering the back knee down onto the blanket or the towel, and then resting the top of the foot on the mat. Now from here, my right foot is just going to slightly come out a little bit, and I rest my hands on the floor. Well, this might be all that you can do, and that's totally fine. Stay here. However, if you're able to come down to the ground, you can slowly lower your elbows all the way down to the ground. Maybe you're not able to get to the ground. Grab your stool. I like to put blocks on top of my stool. And I might just rest like this. Whatever you got to do to get into the stretch, do it now. And we're going to hold it for a total of 2 minutes on this side. Should really be feeling this stretch in the hip flexors. We have our back leg is in extension here. We have our front leg in flexion. There are 3 different principles that we teach in the science of stretching. The first one is wet noodle. And basically what that means is you want to relax your body as much as possible so that you're like a wet noodle. And it's so important to relax the body as much as possible so that your nervous system calms down and your muscles can stretch resulting in better flexibility. Good. Now we're going to switch sides. So to come out of the pose, let's just slowly walk those elbows back using your hands to bring you back up. Good. And then bending your front knee, coming back. From here, let's come back into a child's pose. Rock back and forth. So do one. Your knees are as wide as your mat. Feet are touching in the back. And we'll just take 3 rocks. Good. From here, bringing those knees back directly underneath your hips. Move our blanket to the right side. Here, we're going to come into our downward facing dog again, extending that left leg up to the top of your mat. Your heel is going to be either directly below your knee or maybe you punch it a little bit forward. I need to stretch this. And adjust your blanket or towel so that it's resting directly below your knee. My foot is again on top of the mat, just resting. So from here, I'm going to just gently open that left foot, maybe tilt my foot a little bit to the side, and then I'm going to bring my elbows down to the block bench that I have going on here. Hold this for 2 minutes. The second principle of science of stretching is breathe to relax. And what that means is that you want to make sure that you are deeply inhaling and exhaling, letting the breath help calm you down and hold the stretch for a long period of time. Again, breathing through the nose to the count of 4 and exhaling through the mouth to the count of 8. No one ever said deep stretching is easy. It can be actually very uncomfortable. It should never be painful though. If you ever have pain, pull back. There is a thing called just uncomfortableness that you have to be willing to be okay with in order to make strides in your flexibility and your range of motion and mobility. Good. We're just about done here. Good. To come out of the pose, I'm going to again slowly walk my hands back up, coming back up onto my right knee, bringing my left leg back. Let's just move the blanket out of the way, knees as wide as the mat. We're just going to take some child pose rocks here. 1, 2, and 3. From here, you're on all fours. Make our way into a seated position. Grab your stool and your blocks, have them close by because you might need them. From here, you touch the bottoms of your feet together. The further out you are, it's going to take less pressure off. The more you pull yourself in, you're going to feel more of a stretch. Find whatever feels most comfortable to you right now in this time. If you're unable to sit just like this, maybe you want to grab some blocks or perhaps a blanket. Place them directly underneath your bum. And this is where you are. Slowly fold forward, bringing that pelvis forward, tilting, rounding the back, extending the hands out in front of you. Bring those palms up. Continuing to inhale through the nose, exhale through the mouth. When you exhale, try sinking deeper into the stretch. The longer that we're here, we fall deeper into the stretch. So where you are when you start off might not be where you are at the end of the 3 minutes. Just continuing to breathe, inhale and exhale to sink deeper. One trick I can show you too, if your knees are like super screaming at you, you can always grab pillows or blocks and put them underneath your knees, and that takes off some of the pressure. Another option could be to grab a block, put your forehead on the block. To come out of the pose, hands, and walk them back up your legs, coming back into a seated position. And from here, make a counter stretch. So bend those knees, slowly let your knees fall to the right and chill back over to the left. And just take maybe a couple times back and forth, giving the counter stretch that your body needs. For our next pose, we're going to move into pigeon. And using your blanket, putting it probably like in the middle of your mat or so, coming onto all fours. From here, tucking those toes underneath and straightening your knees, coming into downward facing dog. Bring your right foot in between your hands. Drop that back leg onto the mat, resting the top of the foot on the mat. And from here, from this right foot here, you're going to slowly heel toe it to the other side of the mat, lowering that knee right here. As you can see, I'm not able, my buttocks is pretty high off the ground. I could tuck a block in right here, or if you're having knee pressure, that would be helpful as well. Otherwise, another option would be to bring your right foot in closer to your thigh. Now I have my back leg extended and I'm wiggling around and moving to feel so that I can balance all of my weight on both hips. I shouldn't be like this or this. I want all of the weight to be distributed in between both of your hips. And you can stay right here. As you can see, I can't quite get my hands all the way down to the mat. Maybe you have wrist problems. Blocks are really helpful for that. You can remain right here. If you want to take some of the pressure off of your hips, you would then slowly fold forward over the top of your knee and then extend those hands out in front of you. Resting your forehead on the mat, maybe resting your forehead on a block, whatever works. Find what feels good and where you're getting the most effective stretch. The third principle of the science of stretching is time under passive tension. What that means is the longer that we can hold the stretch for, the deeper of work we're doing. And if you really want to make strides in stretching their muscles, you have to do it for at least 2 minutes. It takes the nervous system just to calm down like a minute and 30 seconds once you're into this pose. To come out of this stretch, slowly walk your hands back towards your body, coming up, slowly bringing that right foot behind. Keep this on the other side. So from here, coming into downward facing dog, bringing that left leg in between your two hands, slowly lowering your right knee to the mat, towel, blanket. Here, we're going to heel toe this front foot. Bring this in closer because I just don't have very flexible hips. All of my weight is balanced in between two hips. Slowly fold my way down to the ground. And I oftentimes have to remind my students to continue to breathe. Now, obviously, I don't have to remind you to breathe because you just automatically breathe on your own, but I do have to remind you to mindfully breathe. It's important not to hold your breath in any of these postures, but really let the breath flow in and out. Good. To come out of the pose, slowly walk those hands back towards the body, coming up onto your hips, bending that knee. Good. Remove the towel. Bring those knees forward so you're sitting now on the tops of your feet. Come back, taking a nice back bend here. Good. Opening up the shoulders. Maybe you're not able to reach in back of you that far. Take some blocks. Rest your hands on the blocks. And then just open your chest and your heart. We don't hold this for as long. Slowly taking those hands up off the block, coming into neutral position. For our final pose, we are going to move into double pigeon. Now, this pose can be pretty intimidating. It sometimes can be difficult to get into, so I'm going to show you a couple of variations. For the first variation, grab your bench or your stool. And you can watch me first and you'll know, where you're at. But so sitting on your stool, you would hug your right knee in and then rest the top of your ankle on your left foot. And this just might be where you're at. Put a little bit of pressure on the knee to open up your hip, and just voila, hold this pose here. That is not enough for you. Remove the bench. Maybe you grab some blocks. Coming into just a normal cross position, like a crisscross seated position. Your right foot's going to be in the front. Your left foot is just behind. Take this right foot and you're going to slowly bring it up on the top of your left leg. And then from here, you might just put like a little bit of pressure on this right knee and hold it right here. This is where I'm at, guys. So I'm going to take it in this position. If it feels still too uncomfortable, you could always grab a blanket, roll it up, and just sit on the edge of it. Find whatever feels good for you, and we're going to hold it here. If you don't have any issues with your lower back, you can slowly walk your hands out in front of you and round your back, palms up towards the sky. And we'll hold here. This is one that it doesn't cause pain for me, but it's real uncomfortable. And if I had the free will choice to get out of it right now, I would, which I do, but I don't want to because I know that this stretch is super effective. And the longer that I can stay in it and hold it, the more beneficial it is for me. Breathing, inhaling and exhaling, kind of folding forward, letting my body go just a little bit more each breath, relaxing into the pose. And to come out of the pose, slowly walk your hands back up towards you, coming into a neutral position. Sides. Right foot comes forward, left foot then is rested on the top of my knee. As I look down, there's a perfect triangle. That's what we're really going for here. All right, so from here, oh, this one's, and one side might feel tighter than the other. For me, this side definitely is tighter. I can feel it. Maybe you want to grab a block. You can just wedge it, or maybe 2 blocks. And maybe this is what looks like for you. Maybe it's like this, more stable. Whatever it is, find your way and walk your hands forward, palms up, and we're going to hold right here. If you guys hear people yelling right now, it's just people playing golf in my backyard. Someone must have just had a good shot or something. Again, these deep stretches are excellent for you if you are a golfer. Everyone actually should take at least 15 minutes every single day to do some deep stretching. Beautiful. Let's begin to slowly walk your hands back up, coming into a neutral position. We'll remove those blocks. Uncross the legs, bend the knees, take some final windshield wipers. So letting those knees fall to the right, to the left. I want to thank you so much for joining me today in this deep stretch hip opener class. I hope you enjoyed it and I appreciate you, and I will see you in the next video. If you loved this, please make sure to drop a comment below, like it, or subscribe.